Okay. So as I was saying, if you are doing an evaluation with people who have found their own way through your interventional program, they have made that decision. Just like when you buy something, you've made a decision to buy something, and actually you're very pleased about your decision. Yes, made a good decision. So that your evaluation will be elevated, and it won't be as objective as if you find people and suggest they go through it. And I'll talk more about that in a little while. So what we're looking at is people who have been treated as a result of the intervention, okay? Not people who have found their own way through it. So in terms of, if I take this back to research in a commercial environment, for instance, if we were researching, evaluating the effectiveness of a loaf of bread or a car, consumers can get hold of those things through a variety of channels. They're distributed by a variety of channels. I'm not interested in understanding the effect, the impact of the channel plus the product. I just want to understand the effect of the product. Therefore, I will find people who take Hovis, for instance, and I will give them that loaf of bread in pristine condition and say, evaluate that product. The job of the distribution channel is to make sure that product gets to that person in optimum condition. If that product gets to that person in optimum condition, then that is the impact or the outcome that you could expect to get. So I divorce the two. And that's it's not always possible, but if you can, do so with your evaluations. Okay? And that's what we call treatment of the treated. People who have been through the intervention are those that have been treated, and you are looking at the treatment of that intervention. But that's quite objective. That is actually measuring and understanding the impact of the intervention of the programme. You also then, if you're talking to people and pushing people through it, want to understand those people who do find their own way through it, which is where the customer satisfaction comes in. Those people, as I said, have made the decision to go through it, so they are already in a positive frame of mind, but you want to make sure that the process they go through is good and it fulfills their expectations. So those are the two things that you want to do through customer satisfaction, is understand the process. Did they find it accessible? If it's a face-to-face intervention, how did they find the staff? Were they polite? Were they helpful? Did they understand the product area, whatever it is? Did they have their questions answered? Have they decided on a plan of action having gone through that? What were their expectations going into it, and have those expectations been met? So think about the customer satisfaction. So you're talking about the impact, which is quite different to customer satisfaction. And those are generally two things that you do in a quantitative way. You talk to lots of people, 100 plus, and actually collect numbers and actually do some mathematics and stats to understand what people are saying. But numbers on their own tend to be quite dry. They tell you what's happening, they don't tell you why or how. So to supplement that, what I generally do is actually demonstrate a typical customer journey. So this might be case study work. This is what we call qualitative work. So for instance, I will find people, or I will approach people who are going through the intervention or the programme, talk to them beforehand, understand the context in which they are arriving at that programme or that intervention. What's made them decide to do it? What's the triggers been to actually tip them into doing it? What are the questions? What are their expectations? And then start to understand them as they go through the process, what they're thinking, how they're absorbing information, how it's changing their feelings and their emotions, and actually then what they're doing as a result of it. So you actually understand them from beginning to end, and you do that in quite a qualitative way from develop case studies. And that illustrates the journey. And if there are problems with your process, or there are problems with the content, they will often show up through those case studies. But if it's working well, you will actually get some very positive case studies coming out, which really do bring to life the dry statistics that you've collected when you're measuring impact and customer satisfaction. So you're getting a rounded view of what's happening with your intervention, coming at it from 3 different angles. So just to recap, for me, evaluation is measuring the impact, adding in the customer satisfaction, and adding in the customer journey. Now, it's not always possible to put all those three in, but that's where my starting point is. Can I get all three of those done? Can I get all those three into an evaluation? Okay, I've got 3 examples of how you might measure impact. This one here is, we're all robust, but there are different levels of robustness. This one here just says that actually you talk to somebody before they go through an intervention or a program, and you do some measuring. They then go through that intervention, and you talk to them afterwards, and actually look at the difference between them, between the 2 points. Okay, and that's all you're doing. So, for instance, you might be measuring beforehand the amount to which people are struggling to make ends meet. You might be measuring beforehand the amount, whether or not they are saving. You might be understanding how much debt they have beforehand. You're then giving them an intervention, a program, or some advice or some help, and then you talk to them afterwards, and you understand what difference that's made to the things that you're looking to have an impact on. And this is why it is so important that you understand what success looks like before you go into doing this, because you have to understand what questions to ask before they go through an intervention. How long between those 2 points? That depends on what it is that you're expecting people to do as a result of your intervention. So for some people who are struggling to make ends meet, that intervention would probably suggest that they actually draw up a budget. That is something that they would do quite quickly, so you might want to speak to them a week or 2 weeks after they've gone through an intervention. If it is something to do with getting protection in place, insurance in place, contents insurance in place, they need more time to be able to do that, so you might speak to them a month or 2 months down the line. The longest we take is generally about 6 months, because people who have a mortgage, and we're suggesting actually they look at reviewing their mortgage or their savings rates on products. It takes them a lot longer to think about it, review what they've got, understand what they could do, and then actually do some switching or putting those types of things in place. So the time difference between before and after needs to be thought about and reflect the actions or the things that people are going to be doing as a result of the intervention. There is no fixed specific time that you work with. So that is the lowest level of robustness that we tend to work with. This is the next level up. And here what we've done is added in a control group. Now a control group is a group of people who don't experience the intervention. And what you would expect or hope to see if your intervention is working is that the level of action that you see with those people who experience the intervention is higher than those who don't. So again, you speak to both groups of people before you then take part of your group and give them the intervention, give them access to the program, and then you talk to everybody again at the same time later on in the process. And again, same sort of things. If you're looking to find out whether people have reduced debt as a result of your intervention, those are the questions you'll ask of everybody at the beginning, and you ask of everybody at the end. And you would hope that you have more people reducing their debt that have been through your intervention than you do with your control group. Okay, the group that haven't experienced the intervention. Now,